Why do UFC fighters earn so much less than athletes in other major sports? The shocking truth lies in the UFC's unique business model, lack of union representation, and a pay system that leaves many fighters struggling. Let's dive in. One of the main reasons UFC fighters are paid less than athletes in other major sports is the absence of a fighters' union or association. In leagues like the NFL, NBA, or MLB, players are represented by powerful unions that negotiate collective bargaining agreements. These agreements help secure minimum salaries, revenue sharing, health benefits, retirement plans, and other protections for all athletes, regardless of individual popularity or performance. In contrast, UFC fighters operate as independent contractors without a unified body to advocate for their collective interests. This lack of representation leaves individual fighters with limited leverage to demand better pay or working conditions. Instead, each fighter negotiates their contract independently with the UFC, a company that holds significant control over the terms. As a result, the UFC can maintain lower salary floors and retain a larger share of revenue, without the pressure of union-led negotiations that would typically push for more equitable treatment across the roster. Make sure to hit that like button if you think UFC fighters deserve better pay. Drop a comment below. Should UFC fighters form union? The UFC bases fighter pay largely on individual performance, popularity, and drawing power rather than a standardized salary system. This means fighters are compensated not only for winning, but also for how marketable they are, how many fans they attract, how exciting their fighting style is, and how well they promote fights. While this can result in top-tier stars and champions earning millions, it also leads to large income gaps between established names and newer or lower-ranked fighters. Unlike traditional team sports where even bench players are guaranteed a base salary negotiated through union agreements, UFC fighters often earn significantly different amounts even when fighting on the same card. Some newcomers may earn $12,000 to show and another $12,000 to win, while their opponents or main event fighters could be earning hundreds of thousands or even millions for a single appearance. This pay structure reinforces a system where only a small percentage of fighters reach financial security, while the majority must continue to fight frequently or seek sponsorships and side jobs to support themselves. While the UFC does offer a minimum purse for fighters, it is significantly lower compared to the base salaries offered in other professional sports leagues. For example, a new UFC fighter might earn $12,000 just to show up for a bout, with the potential to double that amount if they win, totaling $24,000 before taxes, training expenses, and management fees. In contrast, rookie contracts in the NFL or NBA guarantee hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, even for bench players. This low starting pay has drawn increasing criticism from both fighters and fans. Many fighters argue that the minimum should be raised to reflect the physical risks and preparation required for competition at the elite level. Moreover, fighters often have to pay for training camps, coaches, gym fees, medical expenses, and travel, costs that can take a substantial chunk out of their earnings. As a result, some fighters barely break even after a fight, especially if they lose and miss out on a win bonus. Without a standardized, higher base salary or a revenue-sharing model similar to other sports leagues, the financial pressure on lower and mid-tier UFC athletes remains a persistent issue. The UFC's business model is heavily centered on generating revenue from pay-per-view sales, media rights, event ticket sales, and sponsorship deals. The company secures significant profits from these streams, but the fighters' share of these revenues is much smaller in comparison to what athletes earn in other major sports leagues. While the UFC's income from media and events continues to soar, fighters receive a relatively small percentage of this overall revenue, leading to criticism that the company prioritizes profits over fair compensation for the athletes who drive its success. In comparison, sports leagues like the NFL, MLB, and NBA have revenue-sharing models, where a larger portion of the money generated from TV deals, sponsorships, and merchandise is allocated directly to the players through collective bargaining agreements. For example, in the NFL, players receive around 48% of league revenue through salaries and benefits. The UFC, on the other hand, offers a much smaller percentage to fighters, with estimates ranging from 16 to 20%. This smaller share is reflective of the UFC's ability to maintain a more centralized control over negotiations, thanks in part to the lack of a union and collective bargaining. While top fighters can still make a significant amount through pay-per-view bonuses and sponsorships, the disparity between the fighters at the top and those at the bottom is stark. For most, the UFC's business model creates a difficult financial landscape, where a fighter's earning potential is largely dependent on their ability to sell tickets, attract viewers, and secure lucrative endorsements. Want to see more insider info on UFC pay and business? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Let's get the conversation started. How do you think the UFC can improve fighter compensation?